It would be a few more weeks before we had sex. The first few times weren't that great. One of those first times, I may have asked him if he was almost done. Remember, I had never had an orgasm with a guy, and at this point, I considered them solitary activities. However, my husband has functional OCD. When he decides there's a problem that needs to be solved, he solves it. He's channeled it well, and it serves him daily at work. This time, the problem was sex and my lack of orgasms. He decided to make sure that not only would he be the last guy I slept with, he would be the best. He also wanted to make sure I had as many orgasms as possible. I had no problem with his goals, but I really didn't think he would get very far with the orgasms. I mean, I knew what worked, and his dick just wasn't going to do what I did. If you've been following my other videos, you may have noticed that my experience has never involved research of any kind. While I did date a couple of guys who wanted to show me things, they weren't around for long. The ones who were around longer were interested in themselves more than in me. But this time, he kept studying and researching with a goal of being the best, being an expert. One day, he told me to call him Daddy before we started. I laughed and finally agreed. No one had played mental games with me. It was hard for me to let go at first. I was guarded because I felt silly. But when I finally relaxed and followed his directions, he dominated me. I was totally turned on by the whole experience. It was new and exciting, and I was definitely wet. It was probably the most fun I'd had in bed so far. We would go on to try various things over time. I looked forward to seeing what he had in store for me next. He would give me orders, placing my hands in a position and telling me not to move them. Then he would begin kissing me and touching me while I kept my hands frozen in place. I wasn't allowed to move them until he told me to do so, and he usually only told me to move one hand to touch him. Once he brought a blindfold and had me put my earbuds in with my music on. I couldn't see or hear anything, making every touch a delicious surprise. Through all of this, he was experimenting with positions, movements, and fingers. His oral performance was already quite impressive. His research on the types of female orgasm was absolutely flooring, and he was determined to prove I could experience each one. And he did. There's technically one left to experience, but he's gotten me right up to the edge when I tapped out. So I will give him credit for that one, too. As one of his more creative endeavors, my husband even tried to make me orgasm by hearing or seeing the word Ruby. While I didn't ever have a full-blown orgasm, I did get closer than I expected. When I saw or heard that word, I would get very wet. He would text me or call me and tell me very erotic stories. I loved every one, and I was even more ready to continue the submission and the mental games. I started not only having one orgasm, but multiple orgasms, and quite regularly. I once told him that couples generally experience a honeymoon phase, and the chemistry fades a bit after 2 years. There has been a substantial amount of research done on the subject. Even those who stay together begin to find their day-to-day life less exciting than the early days of their courtship. My husband took that as both an insult and a challenge that he definitely won. Every year we've been together has only improved our relationship and our sex lives. Not only was he doing his research and maintaining performance, but our intimacy, love, and communication made it even better. We have always been great communicators through the good times and bad times. I had never really had that. When we first started having sex, I was absolutely a pillow princess. Between anxiety and insecurity about my own performance, I continued this behavior for years. Over time, he definitely helped me change that. Please hit subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner and hit like if you enjoy the content in this series.